Hello, guys. Come on in. Please come on in. We have new updates in the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. Stop what you're doing. Grab yourself a cup of coffee or whatever you're drinking, some sweet tea, some hot cocoa. Come on in and join me. Today, we're going to be talking about the DA speaking out. We're going to be talking about did Esmeralda know about David and Celeste? And, let's talk. We're going to explain everything that went down regarding with Esmeralda. I just want to say that this video is for educational purposes only. Everything I'm sharing is my opinion. This video is for adults only, so viewer discretion is advised, and everyone is innocent. No one's been charged in this case, and everything I'm sharing with you is my opinion. We're also going to be talking about the LAPD. Are they dragging their feet or not? Did Esmeralda know about David and Celeste? And if so, why didn't she do anything? So let's go ahead and start with Esmeralda. So let me grab this. Just opening this up. Okay. All right. So I just want to explain this to you the best way that I can. We'll just go right straight to the sourcing on this, which is SF Investigates. Let me see if I'm blocking you. No, I'm not. Okay. So the SF Investigates does explain this, and he gets a little bit frustrated, but we learned that it appears that there was a Build-A-Bear. There was a Build-A-Bear at a Build-A-Bear workshop, and he's got the receipts right here, April 21st of 2024, and that belongs to Esmeralda. Okay, so Esmeralda is Celeste's cousin. So he says that, let me just see. Okay, so that's David. Okay, so we learned that there was a Build-A-Bear. It was named Esmeralda, who also happens to be the cousin of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. We also know that Celeste went to Esmeralda's high school graduation in May of 2024. And they also went to a theme park. So this is the Build-A-Bear at the Six Flags Magic Mountain. Okay. All right. So to be clear about Esmeralda, she was only 17 years old at this time. She was graduating from high school, not college. Okay, so I just want to put that out there. She was a kid too. So I see a lot of finger pointing, deflecting. I think a lot of this is being pushed forward by bots, in my opinion, but a lot of deflection is going on. So to be clear, Esmeralda, who was Celeste's cousin, was only 17 herself. She was a minor, but it does appear that Celeste may have gone to a theme park with David and Celeste. Esmeralda may have gone to a theme park with David and Celeste, and that she may have known that Celeste was with David. Now, did she tell Celeste's family, or was she keeping, this is a teenager in high school, was she keeping the secret for Celeste? We don't know yet. So I'm urging caution. She was just a kid herself. The adult is right here. This is the adult male. Okay. He was 20 years old. Celeste was 14 when she was put in the trunk of that Tesla. So the private investigator, Steve Fischer, hired by David's former landlord, there's been some confusion about that. It's not the manager, Josh Marshall, who hired this private investigator. This was hired by the owner of the mansion, who leased the property to David's manager, Josh Marshall, who apparently just handed the keys over to David without telling the owner. Okay. So on Friday, October 31st, Steve Fischer unveiled some new clues in the investigation of Celeste's tragic end after she was found in the front trunk of the Tesla registered under D4VD's name on September 8th, one day after what would have been her 15th birthday. While sharing that he found a Build-A-Bear at the Hollywood Hills under the name Esmeralda, and that's right here. That is the cousin Esmeralda. He also posted David also posted a video, and this is a screenshot from it. I can't show David's videos because my understanding is that he's been copyright claiming and copyright striking people. But he posted a video on his TikTok where he could be seen riding a roller coaster, which looks like Six Flags. Looks like this roller coaster right here at Six Flags. And you can see there's a Build-A-Bear there. Okay, so you can see this private investigator putting all the pieces together for us. He said, quote, common sense tells us that Celeste was there. She likely invited Esmerelda. The Six Flags requires a chaperone 21 or older for any guests under the age of 15 years old. This is what he posted on Twitter. So who's under the age of 15? Celeste was. And her cousin Esmerelda was in high school. She was 17. So Esmeralda's name is being thrown around and by, on Reddit now as somehow she's responsible for what happened to Celeste. I don't think so. I think this was one teenager probably keeping a secret for another teenager. I don't know. But Esmeralda was mentioned. So she says, quote, Celeste was only 13 years old at the time that this Build-A-Bear happened. She had been a 13-year-old. Just remember, this is her first year as a teenager. 13. She had been a teenager, according to Steve Fischer, for 6 months. He says, let that sink in. Celeste had just become a teenager and was allowed to stay out of school and be in relationship with an adult man. And he says the adult man, think about if you take your dogs to get a haircut. It rhymes with roomed. David roomed her and committed crimes against her, according to PI Steve Fischer. Steve Fischer was hired by the owner of the mansion, whose house was searched by authorities on September 17th in hopes of finding evidence that might tie David to how Celeste ended up in his trunk. Almost 2 months after Celeste Rivas was discovered in the front trunk of David's Tesla, the LAPD has still not named a suspect in this case and has remained very quiet about their investigation process. So Steve Fischer says that Celeste Rivas was last reported missing on April 5th of 2024. So, and he says he found this certificate with the Esmeralda Build-A-Bear. He also was able to show David was at this theme park. And you can see the background. You can see the roller coaster. You can see the blue on the track with the orange. And he watched the whole video. I can't play David's video, but you can see the track here is blue with the orange. So this is most likely the roller coaster that David's on. And you can clearly see that this particular Six Flags in Valencia, California, has a Build-A-Bear. Okay. So he had some questions. Steve Fischer has questions. He wants to know, was there anyone else there? 2, how open was this relationship with David to the family? Did the mother just know his name was Esmeralda, who was only in high school and probably lacked some judgment herself? Did she not tell Celeste's family, or did they know? Was law enforcement notified that Celeste was no longer missing at this point? Why wasn't she in school? Why was Celeste refusing to comply? Why weren't school administrators or school police professionals who are trained to handle situations like this notified? And he just reiterates that Celeste was only 13 at this time. She had just been a teenager for 6 months. And she had been allowed to stay out of school and be in a relationship with an adult male. The adult male. So he also posted on X another post. Let me go to that one next. About the ME. Oh, he got really annoyed about this too. Let's do this one first. Okay, so he got frustrated. Apparently, somebody was, posting on Reddit, which is, he said, was initially a decent source of information. I do think there are some chat rooms on Reddit that are good sources of information, in my opinion. But he also said that, another good source was the Discord server. But that's been now overrun. But he just feels frustrated. He said that somebody sent him a screenshot saying they're claiming that Celeste was never at the Doheny House. That's the second house, the one that I went through the last two live streams in 2023 or 2024. He's saying he is, emphatic. He never said that. He said, what I said is that Celeste was not living at the house at the time of her passing, since some people are falsely claiming that David still had that property as a second lease. Now, remember, I showed you that that house was put back up for rent on March 7th of 2025. He said the house that's owned by a music manager, it's been used as a luxury short-term rental through an Airbnb competitor, often leased as a content or streaming house. So this is why we have David streaming from this house. He said David didn't hold the lease there in 2025. Celeste wasn't living there. That's what I've said. But she was there at that mansion. We have shown proof of that. So he's pushing back. He doesn't think Celeste was living at the house. He said he spent the afternoon at the house on Doheny looking for more clues. And when I was there, I thought I could put some of the anxiety and fear that people must live that are responsible for. He said, I thought about the anxiety and fear. I love this post. I love this post. For putting Celeste in the trunk. So he's talking about the perpetrators that put Celeste in the trunk. He loves thinking about the anxiety and fear that are living inside of these people responsible. He says people, plural, not person, responsible for putting her in the Tesla trunk. The sleepless nights, the cold sweats, knowing that for the rest of your life, you'll carry the truth that you folded a 14-year-old child into a trunk to hide what you did, knowing the whole world will judge you for the rest of your life. Steve Fischer, I love this. I love this. He said, I thought about how you must wake up every few hours with that image in your head, knowing that your life is over because you didn't have the dignity or courage to call for help. Fame and being a star effer mattered more to you than the life of a child. For the rest of your pathetic, lonely lives, and again, we have a plural here, we have people, plural, and lives. Everyone will see you for what you are, the kind of person who threw away a human being like trash. You're done. Your lives are ruined. That was your choice, because in the last month, not one of you has had the guts to come forward, admit what you did, and beg forgiveness. Instead, you are hiding and watching everything we say, pretending this isn't about you. It isn't. It's about Celeste, but you are nothing. You are nothing but cowardly, criminal lowlifes, again, plural, who will live with the guilt and shame of what you did until your last breath. I know all of you have that smell burned inside of you. You all smelled her at some point. The smell of Celeste in the trunk. I'm watching my words here. That will stay with you forever. It will never leave you. You will always be reminded of what you did. It will cripple you mentally and bring you to your knees, and you deserve it. Each of your legacy will be exactly what you've earned. That of a truly horrible human being. And he says horrible human beings. Again here, plural. Human beings, plural, that nobody will miss when you are gone. Okay, Steve Fischer is on fire with this, and I am here for this. And then he has this up. He says it appears based on tracking from the LA County medical examiner cases that most of the unalivings previously listed as deferred, which is how Celeste is listed, likely pending toxicology reports, have now established CODs, both cause and manner, through September 1st or 2nd. So he's looking at, Celeste was found on what day? She was found on the 8th. Okay, so this suggests that we could see a determination in the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case within the next 10 days. This does not necessarily mean the full report for her autopsy will be completed by then, but rather that an initial classification will likely be made both of the COD and the manner. Was it natural? Was it unnatural? Was it unaliving? Did somebody do this to her? Did she do this to herself? Was it an accident or is it going to remain undetermined? I'm watching my words here. I'm paraphrasing. This assumes that her case timeline is consistent with the other recent cases at the ME's office. Okay, so I think this is really good. So I do, just want to say thank you to Steve Fischer for all of his really great work investigating this case. And thank you so much for, let me pull this up. Thank you so much for this great catch on this roller coaster. So what is the LAPD actually doing in this case? Well, the LAPD is still pursuing an investigation that is tightly sealed. The owner of the Hollywood Hills mansion, which was rented to Josh Marshall, the manager for this guy, D4VD, who is innocent until proven guilty, rented the mansion on behalf of David for $28,000 a month. And he is the one that hired private investigator Steve Fischer. He is also tasked with digging the truth of what really happened inside the property before Celeste was found in the front trunk of David's Tesla and parked around the corner from the mansion. Now, PI Steve Fischer has disclosed that his team of detectives has analyzed closed circuit cameras that have now been handed over to the officials of the LAPD. He also noted that the findings, quote, raise questions, end quote, about what happened, although he declined to speculate further. PI Steve Fischer also shared that the Tesla was David's everyday vehicle up until February of 2025. And what day did the Doheny house get put back on the market? March 7th of 2025. And you will recall that the second property where I have shown you photos, this is Steve Fischer saying this, linking David and Celeste to this property went back on the market. This is me saying this. Sorry, this is me. And you will recall that I said, this is Jessica, I said this, I've shown you photos that linked Celeste and David to this property went back on the market March 7th of 2025. So many people believe that Celeste may have been stashed on this Doheny second property. Now, PI, I don't know. But clearly David was streaming from it. PI Steve Fischer also shared that the Tesla was David's everyday vehicle. And then he got this red Tesla around the same time, right? So he cited the parking citations. We're back to Steve Fischer now. License plate reader data and home and neighborhood security camera to make the determination that the Tesla, the black Tesla, stopped being used after the first 2 months of 2025. And remember, the Doheny property went back on the market March 7th of 2025. And Celeste, the last known photo of Celeste that Steve Fischer has been able to find is January 2nd of 2025. So just keep all of those dates going. So according to the New York Post, let me pull this up. Let me pull this up. Just grabbing this one. All right. Let me pull this. Okay. And I'm going to take this down, put this up. Okay. So this is the New York Post. And this is the mansion right here. So this is my source on this. According to the New York Post, on February 27th, David's black Tesla received its 45th parking citation. 45th parking citation, you guys. I'd almost wonder, is that like a typo? Is that right? And this is my sourcing. People said he didn't say farm implement. I don't know, which one you watched, but he did in one of the interviews use the word farm implement. But implement simply means a tool that's not motorized. I looked up the definition. Okay, so it does say 45th parking citation. It's a lot of parking citations. But the next citation didn't occur until September 3rd, according to data shared by Steve Fischer. Security camera footage shows that the SUV was last, now they're calling this an SUV. This is not correct. It is a Tesla. Was last moved from its normal spot in front of David's home on July 29th and parked just a few blocks away from where it would remain, until a neighbor filed the complaint on August 29th, according to Steve Fischer. We know the car was towed to an impound lot on September 5th, and that Celeste was discovered 3 days later in the trunk, the front trunk of David's Tesla. And here's a picture of Celeste together with David. Fischer told the Post, I do believe that the car, he's talking about the Tesla here, was moved on July 29th, and that Celeste was in the front trunk of the Tesla at the time and had probably been there for quite a while. He says, quote, something very bizarre happened. Now, David did have another Tesla that was found in the garage of the mansion, not the Doheny property, but the mansion. Now, this one was a red 2025 Model Y with a lease that began, and I think this is significant, February 1st, just as the older car appeared to stop being used. So I think that this gives us maybe a hint as to the timeline. I think Celeste was last seen in photographs that Steve Fischer's been able to find January 2nd. And by February 1st, he's replaced the Tesla. I think she's in the trunk at this point, in my opinion. Maybe somewhere else, I don't know, but that's my opinion, or maybe in the freezer. And then we have the Doheny property going back on the market on March 7th. The rapper David has gone dark since the grisly discovery, canceling his world tour and hiring high-powered attorney Blair Burke, who was previously working for disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein. She also worked for Prince Andrew. Neither Burke or the LAPD has responded to the New York Post request for comment. So let me pull this up. Just grabbing the Doheny property. So for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, this is the Doheny property. This is separate from the mansion. This is a completely separate location. Okay. This is the house on Doheny. And you can see, I've shown this before. I have people come in to try to tell me that this is not true. They said because there's a water cooler in this picture, therefore you could see the water cooler in the background in this video, that therefore this couldn't be the same property. That's just nonsense. A water cooler is something that's brought in by the renter. It wouldn't be necessarily something that's brought in by the homeowner. But you could see in this image behind David and Celeste in this, where she basically calls him out for essaying kids, right? You could see, let me move myself down here for a second. You could see the hood. You could see the stove top, and then between the hood and the stove, you can see blue tile. Okay, so just put a pin in that. You can also see behind David's head two shades, two white shades that you roll up and down, and then you can also see the cabinets. And if you look really closely, move close to your screen, you can see that the silver pulls on the cabinets, and you can also see that there is a beadboard underneath the molding that goes around the edge of the cabinet. So now let's look at the Doheny property. You can clearly see that there is a hood, silver hood, with the blue tile between the hood and the stove. Okay. You can see the same exact white screens, the white roll screens. And no, it does not have the water cooler. You can also see, if you get close to your screen, you can see the same exact rounded cabinet pulls in silver. And you can see the cabinets have the crown molding with the beadboard underneath the crown molding. It is absolutely the same property that he is seen with on this video with Celeste. I had people claiming that it wasn't the same property. Probably it's bots hired by the defense team, in my opinion. He hired a high profile attorney. I'm sure he hired a public relations firm too. Please give this a thumbs up and subscribe and help me out with the algorithm, because I am going to get in my opinion, I think there's a PR team funding all this nonsense about Esmerelda, which is why I just wanted to point out she was only 17 years old. So that's another minor that he had no business taking to a theme park, that he legally cannot take kids under the age of 15 without their parents' consent to a theme park. So then if you look here, there's another more proof that David and Celeste were at this Doheny property, the second property. And there are hangers hanging up. And if you look at the pictures, there's 1, 2, 3 separate pictures. You can see there's like a beadboard backing in the bathroom. And then you can see that the picture is of an ocean. And if you look at this picture, you can see the 3 photographs, 1, 2, 3, clearly of an ocean background with David and Celeste in the foreground. So I just want to put that out there because it just does really, I mean, and then this is the receipts of the Doheny property, which now lines up really well with the Tesla, right? We have this house was being used, as for lease. You could stream at it. So did David lease it for some period of time? But we can see here that it went back on the market. It was relisted after being off the market from July 26th of 2022. It was back on the market March 7th of 2025. And when did David get the new Tesla? February of 2025. When is Celeste's last known photos that we have of Celeste? January 2nd of 2025. So all of these line up with David. And I'm very curious because Steve very clearly says people. He's not saying person. So it sounds like there are people who put Celeste in the trunk, plural, people, not just person. Come on up and talk to me if you're watching. I would love to hear what you guys think about this. I think that Steve Fischer is doing a really, really good job. And Laura, I agree with you. There is a really clear timeline in place here. So the timeline is January 2nd, last known pictures of Celeste. Doesn't mean there aren't some after that the LAPD has. That's just what Steve Fischer has. February, he suddenly gets a brand new Tesla, and this one it's $100,000 car. He stops driving it, stops detailing it, stops taking care of it. It gets 40 something plus tickets. And then the Doheny property is just conveniently put back up on the market on March the 7th of 2025. I think all of these things are connected, in my opinion. Let me know. Do you think that these things are all connected? Yes or no? Tell me, let's do a poll. If you think that the timeline lines up with the February, March, and that Doheny property going back up. Remember, they would have had to gotten the house ready to go back on the market. So the fact that it was placed on the market March 7th doesn't mean, it didn't have to be cleaned up. Nicole said, if that house was an Airbnb, there's no way she was living there. Well, it depends. It could be she was still at the mansion. We do know. So you could be right. But they were at that Doheny property at some point. I don't think that's in dispute. They were using the Doheny property, and maybe she, when he went out of town, maybe he did put her there. I mean, they are at that property. That is them in the kitchen of the Doheny house. So Celeste is there with him. So maybe, you know. And then we have the Hello Kitty shirt with the Divine Celestial that, the person who posted it said they could not find anything that showed that this shirt was available, produced mass. So, we're wondering, I can't say with 100% certainty, but a lot of people are wondering if David had this shirt made for himself. But he's got Divine Celestial written on the shirt. And then we have this bizarre owl post that he made. And let me take down the banner for a second. So it says here, chased a crow looking at trees. He posted this on Celeste's birthday. Who's running in there to like it? Neo is, right? Neo's in there. Like. Neo's liking that one too. Neo the Asian right there. And he's talking about a blackbird, a crow. And I shared with you the significance of a crow, in the culture of what that would mean. What does a crow mean? I chased a crow looking at trees. And he's wearing the Hello Kitty shirt. And what's the date on that, guys? Look at the bottom. What date is on the bottom of this post? It's Celeste's birthday. On Celeste's birthday, he posts, chased a crow looking at trees. He's wearing the Hello Kitty shirt. He doesn't look sad. And Neo's in there liking it. And these posts are made on Celeste's birthday, one day before she's found in his trunk of his car. And this, Steve said that the person inside the mansion that drove that car was wearing some type of very standout shirt. So, netizens, which is internet netizens, found these two shirts. One is worn by David, and the other one is worn by Neo, saying, are these the shirts? And then we have David sitting here on the 30th of July. Starts his tour. Ready to go on tour. No, never, this man has never said one kind word of empathy for this child found in the trunk. What kind of person, unless you had something to hide, in my opinion, allegedly, he hasn't been charged with anything. What kind of person doesn't have one word of empathy? Well, I will tell you, it's the kind of person that's been told to be quiet by their lawyer, right? Don't say anything. But to all of the helpers that helped him, and it's plural, according to Steve, plural, people is what he said in his Twitter post, right? He didn't say person, he said people. He's referred to the driver of the car as they. So was somebody sitting in the car next to him? Was there somebody? I've heard there was an SUV following the Tesla. So did they move her? And who is they? Let's see what you guys said on the. Nicole said, I don't think the Doheny places the date has absolutely nothing to do with this. Well, you could be right. But I don't think we could say it has absolutely nothing to do with this, because it proves that David was with Celeste in a house, not sitting on the street, not on the corner, but in a house with a child who referred to him in this live stream as essaying, I'm paraphrasing, kids, right? That's why he tells her, and that tells his mods to delete this live stream. So the concept that this has nothing to do with it, I don't agree with that. I think the fact that he's alone in a house with her, somebody he didn't have custody of, is significant. But I think that the Doheny house may be significant. We don't know yet. Kat Sear says, does Jessica know about the 4 to 5 potential co-conspirators? Obviously innocent until proven guilty. Well, I don't know if you're, if we're thinking about the same people. Dog Mom says, has Steve Fischer done any recent interviews, not the old ones? Anyone able to find out who owns the Doheny property? They should be able to find out if he leases it or his manager. We don't know. Deanna says yes. Lee says, I think early on they said online in places in February he was saying he and Neo. I'm not saying they did this together at the same time. Maybe Neo, but he and Neo conveniently wiped all of their Instagram around the same time, wiped all their social media. They scrubbed it. Dana says yes. Thank you for modding today. And Jazz Didi says, love and hugs, Jessica, the reporter room, for all your hard work. We love you. Thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege to get to advocate for Celeste Rivas Hernandez. This child deserves to be justice, which is why we are hitting this case like every chance we get. And thank you guys for showing up for Celeste today, because this makes it harder for somebody to brush what happened to her under the rug. And I have to tell you, with how slow this is all going, I think a lot of people are really concerned that she's not going to get justice, because we haven't gotten an update in a while. TMZ, didn't sound like they were like for sure. I wish there would had been more certainty. I'm uncomfortable with the lack of certainty. Michael's asking, please don't time people out. Yeah, we don't time people out for having a different opinion. Just if people are being rude to somebody else in the chat. I saw the shirt online. You're talking about the Divine Celestial? If you could send me a link to that, that would be great. I would love. You have my email. Let me just pop it up here for you. This is my email. Email me the link so I can get it for the next live stream. Thank you so much. It's tips and the number 4 Jessica@outlook.com. Okay. The shirt is just creepy. Cassius, I'm grateful that Jessica shared Steve's powerful personal post. I had never seen that before. Yeah, I love that he's wondering that. Thank you so much for modding today, Kay Blaine. Michael's letting you know all civilized, this is a critical thinkers channel. So I just bring you all the information. You guys can make up your own mind. I don't know everything. I'm just bringing you the information as we know it. I'm just trying to continue to raise awareness and to try to get justice for Celeste, because I think she deserves that. I think her family deserves that. And that's why I wanted to stand up for Esmerelda, because I saw people going after her online. And I'd be like, wait a minute. Esmerelda was only 17 years old when she, went to this, when Celeste went to her graduation and she went to this theme park. She's just, and Celeste was only 13. Maybe she kept her secret for her. It wasn't the best idea, but teenagers do that for each other. Thank you for modding today. The other head mod, Njaz, along with Mike. Thank you. Red Cloud, thank you so for modding. Really creepy shirt. Yeah. Yeah, it is really creepy. And in light of everything that this man has done, is creepy, in my opinion. Now that we can look at it in the rear view mirror, right? In the back of my mind, I illed her with a K, right? Thanks for modding today. Deanna says, I believe they need to lock the one up that drove the car last, and they'll start getting answers. Clearly, the person hung an air freshener in the car. Nicole said, I'm sure the police and FBI have contacted the homeowner and rental company to check any names associated with David and check dates. They will be doing whatever investigation they do. I hope so. Bailey thinks Neo is a sycophant. Nothing's new. Really? That's okay. Feel free to exit the chat. You don't have to be here. Nobody's forcing you to be here. Dee Dee said, please remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for modifications. This is for notifications, right? Notifications. So thank you for showing up for Celeste, because by showing up, we do help keep awareness and attention on this case. So if you're just here to be entertained and nothing new for me, I would just want to be entertain me, which is what I have to say to you. You can get out. You can exit the chat because you're just here to be entertained. You don't really care about Celeste. If you cared about her, you would understand that we have to keep raising awareness for her, in my opinion. But if you just want entertainment, if that's all you care about, and you don't really actually care about Celeste, then that's fine. There's nothing new for you here. If you couldn't find anything new, that's okay. Feel free to exit the chat and not come back. I won't miss you. Michael says, in my opinion, it happened during the fires in January. It was chaotic. Thank you for modding today, Holly. And Jess says, if you have any information or tips, please email Jessica at tipsforjessica@outlook.com. These two guys are just, in my opinion, sick. Deanna said that hair is very distinctive. Kat Sayer says, interesting though. Thought about the fires. Those of us not in Cali wouldn't think of that. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. S. Lee said none of them contributed to her funeral either. Yeah, this man is rich. Or he was. I don't think he's going to be after all this, but this man had money. He didn't say one kind word, not one word of condolences. And he's live streamed with her. He took her to Six Flags, allegedly. Nicole said, yep, he was definitely told not to say a word by his attorney. And Neil Milley says, let him not hide behind his lawyer. Yeah, and we saw how well this is working out for Harvey Weinstein, who's in jail. And we saw how well this worked out for Prince Andrew, who's no longer a prince. He's now the perpetrator, formerly known as Prince Andrew. He is evil. Linda said, I don't know how to view my gifted membership. Well, I can see it on you, so you should be good. I can see you got it. But as far as that goes, I'm not really sure. Cassier says, I don't get it. I couldn't even stand 13-year-old girls when I was one of them. Aw. Lee says, in my opinion, SF is hinting she may have been in the car since he got the red one. I think so too. And we heard the police say weeks, right? Plural. Kay Blink said that child had no idea what she was in for. No. I think, she probably absolutely believed that she loved him. Holly said, do you have a green check mark by your name? Check out the community post. Yeah, we're going to do a members only live today. Kat Seer, thank you for your purple hearts. We're doing purple hearts for Celeste Rivas Martinez. Please say her name. Post her name in the chat. Put up purple hearts. She deserves our love. This is why we're doing this. We're doing this because we want to raise awareness and keep Celeste's name in the public. The worst thing that could happen is this case goes cold and people stop covering it, and law enforcement, decides, well, we don't. And you could see Steve Fischer kind of putting a deadline in his own mind. Remember, Steve Fischer, SIFSF investigates. PI Steve Fischer knows who's behind the wheel of that Tesla. He said he would give the LAPD a little bit more time, but he's definitely releasing it. Nicole said, I would love to hear what all the internet sleuths have figured out. Well, if you go on to onto the internet, you can find out all kinds of stuff. But some of it's just theory. This is Janelle's theory. She says, my personal theory is David and Neo decided to make a plan. Oh, golly. That would explain the damage to the Tesla. Oh, my goodness. Well, Neo hasn't been charged with anything. He could just have been disgusted with David and scrubbed his social media account. But again, if there's an active investigation into this and you're this guy's personal manager and friend, would you scrub your social media? Let me just ask you, would you? Yes or no? Just tell me. I would just want to see what you guys think. Kay Blink says, I'm afraid she isn't going to get justice either. I'm worried about that too, which is why I'm like, I am trying to hit this case regularly. That's 76. Am I late? You have to back up the chat, okay? Just back it up. Did you know you could back up a live stream? You could just slide it back and then you can watch it through. Dee said this guy is way high on the creeptometer. And Nilly Manilli says maybe David says he lives lives of others. David thinks he's Celeste now, thus the boyfriend. It's weird. Yeah, we're going through it. Richard said, it doesn't surprise me that the LAPD are handling it in the way that they are. Look at their history. Yeah, I'm worried about that too. Looking at their history does make me feel worried. Because I just feel like, why wouldn't you put a rush on this? Now, I do think they had to go into the vitreous humor, but you could see Steve Fischer also kind of looking at the timeline. Okay, going, well, the cases that were opened on September 1st and 2nd are up with a ME. So we should have some information in the next 10 days. The industry will protect him. Yeah, I think they not only does he have an attorney, which is why I need your help. I need you guys to please give this thumbs up. Please help me out with the algorithm. Drop me a comment in the comment section below. This helps me with the algorithm. But I'm also going up against a PR machine on this case. And I just have a very small YouTube channel. And Nelly Cassier says, that's why I said the song he posted deleted was him writing as Celeste. Wow. Lisa, somebody shared SF posted on Twitter calling out Neo as maybe being the driver to Bluebird. I don't know. But I do think it's very, very, I'm not saying Neo had anything to do with what happened to Celeste, but I do think it's very, very shady that he scrubbed his social media account when she was found. Now, maybe he didn't want anything to do with David and didn't think, as David's personal assistant and friend, that his social media account might be important to police. But it is, and it makes police can still get it, but it makes it harder. Michael says Record and D4VD could get sued by the family. I hope they get a lawyer. Thank you for modding today, Holly and Lori. Nicole says, so SF said that Neo was the driver. No, he did not say that. Nope, he did not say that. I knew you meant notifications. I was like, when I read it, I was like, I knew what you meant, Dee Dee. Richard said, exactly, the industry will protect and LAPD will work with the industry to help with that. Yeah, I'm worried about that too. Yep, keep up the awareness. That's why we have to keep it going. And true crime is not entertainment unless you're warped. Yeah, if you're coming in here going, nothing new for me, then you're not here for the right reason. You're not here for the right reason. You're just here to be entertained. And that's fine. You do you. But I agree with you, Lori. Justice for Celeste. I love all the purple hearts for Celeste. Holly says, it's so obvious that he was CAing her hiding away, and the live stream confirmed all that photo. How's the entitlement over 40 parking citations? I know, right? 40 plus parking citations. Entertainment is fun, but you must want to help put forward critically thinking thoughts. Exactly. And I have no idea what somebody else has watched. I only know what I've covered on my own channel. So I don't have the ability to watch everybody else's live stream. To see, what else is out there. I don't know. I just only know what I'm pulling for my live stream. I do want to thank NJAS for gifting Reporter Room memberships. Wow, this is so kind of you. Thank you so much. And thank you, NJAS, for gifting 5 Reporter Room memberships. That is so kind of you. So nice of you. If you guys got one of those 6 Reporter Room memberships, please make sure you say thank you to NJAS. And know that we have a members-only live stream with a Q&A on this case at 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. Adele says the last interview he did, cannot remember who the interviewer was. It was very strange. Yeah, there's some very strange interviews out there. He still denies everything. No, he just doesn't say anything. He hasn't denied anything. He doesn't say a word. Not a word of condolences for Celeste, nothing. Oh my gosh, let me show the purple hearts for Celeste. You guys are absolutely awesome. Wow, thank you for modding today, Purple Angel. Wow, look at all these. So nice. Beautiful. You guys are awesome. Just looking, see if I can share this one. Just amazing. And Jess said that. Okay, so we did a poll and I got no, 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 no. It is sad. You're right. Bailey says his car is at the Doheny place on Google Earth. I mean, he was there. The pictures show he was there, and Doheny is important. It's important because it proves they were there at that house together. It proves he's with her. Thank you for the thumbs up, Deborah. If you gave a thumbs up, tell me what number you are, please. Thank you, Rakim. Bailey says, anyone worked out what happened in 2026? Well, worked out what happened in 2026? I'm not, did you mean a different year? Because it's still 2025. But yesterday, I can relate to you, Bailey, because yesterday, all day, I kept thinking it was Monday. And it was like, I got to the end of the day. I'm like, oh, it's Sunday. So Ms. Fizzy says, how about nobody cooperating with the police? Yeah, right? That we know of. And then he tried to put that ringer in there who had to come forward after her picture was being used. He got a picture with her. And she had to say, I didn't date him. I don't have anything to do with him. A lot of people are suspicious about Neo. Adele said, are there any pics of Celeste Rivas Hernandez with anyone else online? It seems to revolve around him. Well, those are just, I mean, most of what we've gotten has been from David. Remember, Celeste was only 13, 14 years old. Other than the post that I've showed you where she was in the chat on Discord, I showed you her interacting with him when he was younger. Shelley said, a lot of these actions he will say he was advised to do. Yeah, I'm sure he will. But, a good and decent person could still put out a statement through their attorney, right? Richard said that's why they claimed her missing, because the blame would have fallen on the parents for not being in school. Well, I think they claimed her missing because she was missing, in my opinion. But Waterfire Rock said, can the family sue David? Let me move myself up here. I'm blocking my face. Can the family sue David if they knew and approved of Celeste's relationship and were being paid? Well, that would be a whole different story, right? But so far, nobody has shown me any evidence that happened, right? Haven't seen any evidence that has happened. So I just, the family has just had to bury their daughter. So let's be careful with the family. Lori said, you do a great job. You're one of the most trusted sources. Thank you, Lori. Prince Andrew's dukedom was stripped for him. Expose them all. Yeah, he not only did he lose being able to call himself the Duke, but he also lost the title of Prince, which was, he was born a prince, but his brother stripped that from him this week too. And just as if your comment isn't factual, just put allegedly or in my opinion. This protects you guys. That 76 said, I'm so glad you're covering this because it seems like not very many are even looking into it. Richard said, does anyone know what David could have meant when he said he was trained her? He said he media trained her. That was weird when the stuff was being said on. Yeah, well, that's because she called them out for essaying kids. She called them out for essaying kids. I don't know Celeste, but I care for what she represents. A sweet young girl. Yeah. Who deserves so much better. Let's put her up. Laura says she's so grateful for you and Jazz. Purple hearts. Look at all these awesome people with purple hearts for Celeste. This is so kind of you guys. So kind. Well, guys, I think I'm going to leave it there. I do want to say thank you so much Let me take this down for a second. I do want to do a shout out. Thank you so much to our executive producer, and Jazz. Thank you so, so much for all you do. You're just absolutely awesome. I also want to thank our producers, our awesome producers, Sasha Angel, George Brown, Michael L. Cole, Christy Ballantyne, and our newest producer, Randall Rand. Thank you so much. And also our amazing channel members who allow me to cover some of these smaller cases. Thanks to your support, I'm able to put time into doing the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. It is a smaller case. It is a more niche case, but it's important. Celeste is important. I want justice for Celeste Rivas Martinez so badly. And I know that you guys do too. That's why you're here showing up for her day after day, week after week, waiting for the LAPD to give us an update on what happened to this precious little girl. She deserves our kindness. She deserves our compassion. She deserves our empathy. She deserves justice. And she deserves for the people who did this to her to be held accountable. Somebody did this to her. Thank you for this is for last live stream to Michael L. Cole, Randall Rand, and Michael L. Cole for the super chats. And thank you to NJAS for gifting channel memberships last live stream that we had. So thank you so much for coming by to spend a little bit of time with me. Subscribing is completely free. If you haven't